It seems like it's working, but it's already disconnected once, so we'll see how long it goes here.
Okay. Oh.
Hello. I haven't got it started. I was waiting for you.
Oh.
I'm getting set up.
Okay.
Hey guys, welcome back to regular Homestead. It's Wednesday afternoon, or at least it is afternoon for us. It's only 5:30.
I don't know how it's Wednesday.
It is already Wednesday.
Already so far into May. Yeah, good times. The good news is we've got a turkey finally hatching in the incubator.
Nice.
So I guess we'll do the normal recap of what's kind of been going on around here. We are continuing to still have our power trouble. So Kanan's spending some time today.
A couple. Would you be quit that? Your nose is so cold. The solar, and I'd figure out the temperature where we keep our batteries was really causing a life issue where they weren't lasting as long. So I was going to have to look for batteries this year. And I tell you what, the last couple of mornings, it's been real iffy on having power in the morning, that we're just using too much power that's not being there, not being stored in the batteries. It's great when the sun is out, but they've really just kind of fallen off that cliff of what's, their storage capacity. And this morning, we went to town last night. Nikki needed a few home, gosh, like 11:30. And, it wasn't midnight or work this morning. And it wasn't even 6 o'clock to check the batteries, thinking, what in the world? Why would the power be out? And our system was shut off. We didn't have enough power in the battery.
In the incubator, when I started having a bunch of problems, so it stores data, which is really cool. It's and pulled it all up, and sure enough, we lost power at like
1:30 or something.
Yeah, just before 2 o'clock. And so my incubator got down to like 80 degrees. Luckily, we're pretty far into a hatch, which is both blessing and curse, because they're not as sensitive towards the end. That, and they start generating their own heat. So naturally, I have quail eggs due this weekend, turkeys due today, chickens due tomorrow. And I thought, gosh, nothing's happening. So I just checked, and we have a turkey starting to hatch. So that's something.
So I was worried about it all morning, and I worked, I'm only working part-time. So I worked until about 10 o'clock, and from that point on, I just kind of worked on a few things here and there, and then I had a meeting at 12 that ran till like 12:45. And since then, I've been just looking at battery options, trying to contact companies for solar batteries. I think I figured out that our equipment, our chargers, and all of our data equipment that we have, it's designed for flooded lead acid batteries. That's what we have. Now, supposedly, I found that they will actually work with lithium batteries, which is a big question we've had. Would they even do any different kind of batteries? Now, our stuff is still, it is 6 years old. It was manufactured in April of 2014. So it's technically 7 years old now, even though we've only been using it about 6 years. So, it was, of course, on a shelf for a while before we bought everything. But I believe it will work with the lithium battery base. I'm still going to contact the manufacturer to get that definite okay, but I've found a lot of information that it will work. So now it's a matter of, can we find something that's going to work for us? What is it going to cost? And how fast can we get it? Because if we, if last night we were out of power by 1:30 in the morning, I don't want this to be a continual thing. It doesn't bother me if we lose power and, Nikki and I can't watch TV at night or something. We'll get by. But the fact that the incubator's full, and I don't want that to be a consistent thing every day. I've got to go turn things off and
Yeah.
recycle everything, recycle power every morning because the incubator's been off for 4 hours. And
Yeah, and I've got brooder pads right now for the chicks, and luckily they're in a room that's
the temperature that our room gets is not going to be too cold to affect battery life for lithium and any kind of gases. So that essentially, so our battery size should go, they're the size of the table essentially. And that could, if we go that way, which it looks like that way, if that goes that way, it's going to shrink down to basically the size of a suitcase. And we could stack it vertically. So it will be a lot easier.
interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting. It's just a matter. The thing I'm worried about now is I think it's going to be cheaper to do a lithium battery for anything. It's a matter of who's got it in stock and how long it's going to take. That's my bigger concern now because there are a lot of options out there.
Past the solar issues.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, we'll get that figured out. We knew the batteries were a problem. Kidding season, kidding season, started a full week ahead of schedule.
Yep.
A goat that Kaden didn't even think was pregnant turned out to not only be pregnant, but drop twins for the first time ever. And yeah, a whole week early, which never happens to us. Usually, goats are pretty predictable. Nubians take the longest amount of time, longest gestation. The Nigerians are the shortest term of what we've got. And the Kinders fall somewhere in between. So we've been watching the Nigerians waiting for kidding to start happening. Obviously, I got rabbit brain.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing and nothing and nothing. And then the Nubians go. So we thought, okay, well, Petunia had 2, which we didn't think she was going to have that many. So we thought, okay, I figured anytime now the Nigerians are going to start. And then another Nubian has another baby. And our Nigerian girls are just getting whiter and whiter and whiter. And I don't know if they've got litters in there or what. But yeah, so we're waiting on that. Right now, if you watched it all last year, we were really buck heavy, like crazy buck heavy. Right now, we're 2 boys and 1 girl. So we will see how things go.
Yeah. We
have 6 more Nubians, one of which I'm not sure took. She just doesn't look like it. And then we've got 18 girls bred total. So we've got 4 in with our kinder buck, and then another 6 Nigerian dwarves. So we'll see how it all goes. So Michael said, I had lithium batteries in my trailer. You had to take them out in the winter and store them inside because they can't handle the cold.
Yeah, I already talked to the rep on that. Now, going into this, they're probably thinking I have more information than I should for an average owner, but our room that we store have an open cistern tank, which is plastic that radiates cold, and the water comes in out of the ground, and we store it in there. Essentially, a heat sink that is, you can either think it's pulling warmth out of the air or it's radiating cold out.
He does what I do.
What's going on
over there? Let me
<laughs>
handle this over here.
All right. So after talking to one of the salesmen, he had said, you just don't want them to freeze. So a room that is 40 degrees on worst case, we could add in a secondary layer of insulation around batteries that don't have to off gas. We could, put in a wood box essentially around them with a secondary layer of insulation that would give them more warmth. And of course, batteries with electronics would give off a little bit of heat. So they would heat their own little covering, and we could have a dual layer. Because they're so small and we don't need the airflow through them anymore, we have a massive amount of space that I could really over insulate them to keep them probably in the 50-degree range year round.
Yeah, if you wanted to.
Yeah, there's plenty of opportunity there to do that, and so now that once I confirm that it's going to work with all of our chargers, that they are capable of doing that, it'll be what brand is the best option, because there's different packaging sizes. There was one, everything's out of California, which is kind of fun. Whether it's
Southern
from,
California.
yeah, well, I found one that was a distributor that was out of I think it's Ukiah, that's outside of Sacramento,
Yeah.
north of San Francisco. So it will be interesting to get shipment. I mean, while they are very heavy, they're a couple 100 pounds. They're the size of a suitcase.
Yeah.
As compared to the floods your dad bought his. They were about, going with the same brand, they were about $5,600, $5,600
Don't worry about it.
for a complete set. So that was my benchmark of, do we go with the exact same thing? This is what it's going to cost. And that was coming in. Now, most of the lithium that I looked at, whether you get it in one big battery or you get it in two that you run in parallel, that can be anywhere from, I think, 4,600 to 4,000, somewhere in there. So it definitely looks like it'll be cheaper to do the lithium iron phosphate. Interesting to mention goats, power. We're still doing cleaning, washing her cages. She has the Harlequin barn mostly tore down. Most of it is fixed. She's got to finish some of the floors that required, cutting out the floors, or taking the clips off, taking the flooring out, putting in a new piece for all the goat barns. And normally split up the Nubian barn. It's a large enough area. I normally split that up. Oh gosh, about 3 or 4 days, because usually my back is so sore from doing that. But because we already had babies, I pushed through and got it done in 2 days, and then also added in the llama area this year. I had skipped him last year, so it was kind of built up. So we got all that done, and I've moved down here around the house trying to get it cleaned up for the rabbit class this weekend. I think Nikki said she wanted to use one of the bays in my garage for that. And it's supposed to be, I think, 80 degrees on Saturday, and I want to say 77 or 75 on Sunday, so it's going to be very warm. It'll be nice, though. We can just roll up the garage door, let everybody sit inside. It's concrete floor, so it'll be somewhat cool. There's usually a little breeze, and then we can turn on all the lights if we need to, can set up, spread everybody out. If anybody's worried about social distancing, and it'll be warm if we can do our demonstration of butchering, and it'll be nice. We'll have Nikki's friend Vanessa's coming to help teach and to stay for the weekend, and her cousin and her cousin's daughter will also be staying for the weekend for the class. At least they'll probably leave out probably lunch on Sunday if it's like last time. So it'll be good. It'll be a fun weekend. So my comment reader left. Let's take a look here. Let's see.
Hey, did you steal that computer?
I'm touching my computer. Yeah, it says it's kind of choppy, so.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it hasn't updated yet.
Oof.
So I think that's really about it about cleaning. We still have a lot of eggs, of course. We're still getting, 8 to 12 a day between all the breeds of poultry laying eggs.
No.
No?
That's just yours. I'm
Well,
still getting
you're right.
another 8 to 10
That's right.
quail eggs a day. Yeah, I've got eggs coming out of my ears. There's eggs everywhere. I'm gonna start egging cars or something with them. There's just eggs everywhere. The dogs are eating well.
Yeah. I made up some eggs yesterday. I must have done 2 dozen or something yesterday. I cooked them up with scrambled eggs for the dogs for a little bit of treat for them, which they really enjoy. I'll give it to them. They really enjoy eating scrambled eggs.
And let's see. So the incubator stuff is completely fixed, other than we keep losing power.
Yeah.
I hatched another 12 pheasants for my mom. So that's kind of. I've got pheasants hatching better than anything else, but
Yeah.
That's kind of the big stuff. So on the rabbit end, because everybody always wants to know what's going on with the rabbit end, I won't say things have been a disaster this spring, but it feels like things have been a disaster. So I mentioned last week that we ended up with bordetella that I brought home for the California State Convention show, and we have been on LA 200 basically for the last week, and everybody is starting to respond. Like, I've got one rabbit that still sounds a little congested. I did check. We're supposedly out of the contagious period, thankfully. Otherwise, I would have had to eat at the end of last week. I had a doe that I had been waiting on to kindle, an American doe that was one of these that I bought in February.
Yeah.
The first time she had a litter, we had bred her. She had a litter of 10. She put them in the box and then threw them all out and stomped them to death for whatever reason. So we had rebred her, and I had rebred another doe at the same time, and the secondary doe didn't take. This doe went almost 2 days over and gave us 10, promptly hemorrhaged and died. So I had come out in the morning. She was pulling hair in the box. We were looking good. Came out a couple hours later and she was dead in the box. And so my next group, I have some satins due this weekend. And I thought, okay, well, we tried our best to hand, and it's not. It's tough. They don't take to it real well. I'll probably end up doing a video about that pretty soon of how to do it. It's very difficult because they're very small and they don't really like milk replacer very much. So we kept them alive, and then I got talking to a girlfriend of mine that have survived because 3 of them passed away before mom had died. To a girlfriend of mine, and she combined 2 of her Harlequin litters into, and we put them in there. Not real sure that it was going to work, and I have gotten tons of messages from her between last night and tonight. And the
Isn't that one of your beetles going across the floor on the?
No, that's an ant. And
like Godzilla.
They're doing fine. She's feeding them. They look like they're doing much better. So hopefully we have saved 7 American babies. I don't even know what to say about some of it. I've never had so many issues, and it's been stuff which really sucks. And then of course we lost several Harlequins to this bordetella outbreak that I brought home. So yeah, it's been a rough go.
Yeah,
I'd say
so.
I've never tried bottle feeding babies before, hand feeding babies, and it is horrible. That's all I can tell you. It's horrible. But that's
you're gonna knock the camera over. What you got?
It's hard, but I've always found that calves aren't too bad. If you can get calves and goats, hopefully it'll straighten out in a minute. But yeah, very difficult. The whole bottle feeding baby, and you don't really use a bottle, but milk replacer for baby rabbits really that if somebody doesn't take, it's not a big deal. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, it sucks, but sometimes you get into these situations, nursing and Harlequins. She wasn't real sure because like we took babies that were this big and gave her babies that were much smaller, and she wasn't real sure for a minute, and she got in and was nursing them before we left. The bonus stuff on the rabbit front, the American program will stay the same size, obviously, since we just brought rabbits in. The SAD program and the Harlequin 4 and 5 years old. I've kept a few youngsters, and then we're in the same boat with our bucks. My Japanese bucks right now are, I want to say 1, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 4, 5, and 7. So they're aging out. Lane is about to turn 5. Lane is my best of breed winner from convention 2016.
2016.
Okay, so he's almost
He should be almost 6.
So he'll stay, but it's, they're we've cut our numbers back a little bit. This last year, 2020 and 2021, with all of the shows being canceled, and as most people know, I'm the Harlequin Club president, and it's been really stressful over the last year. And I am currently running for re-election, which I may actually pull out of, just because I'm tired of the drama. I'm sure most people know I'm not big on the drama front. So I've lost my interest in it a lot. Like, the rabbits have become a chore instead of a joy. And when that tends to happen to me, I usually I don't usually give up entirely, but I do cut back. So we've been dialing things back a little bit, and because the herd is getting smaller, I'm spending more time with the animals that we do have, and I'm starting to take more interest in it again. I think it's one thing when you do meet rabbits, right? Because you have a certain size herd, and it just kind of is what it is. And there's a function, emotional investment per se, that you get when you have really struggled to preserve a rare breed or have worked thing. So yeah, I've just gotten a little fried out and a little burned out with it. Uh, you know, club drama doesn't help, and just kind of the thing. I guess that's kind of the big thing. Like he said, I'm cleaning all the cages out. Our cages are old enough now that we're getting rust spots in the floor. As everybody knows, that creates sore hawk issues. That's actually what alerted me to the fact that I had a cage problem on the bottom. So we have stackers, and on the bottom cages, they tend to hold more humidity on the floor, and they just don't. They tend to rust out a little faster. And we had the barn flood a couple years ago, actually during the melt in the spring. So we got quite a bit of water into the bottom cages, to the point I had to pull rabbits out of all the bottom cages. And that damaged the wire. And Americans can be kind of tough on the wire because we use our bottom cages for our bucks a lot of times. And when you're breeding two really big, heavy animals, they bounce the floor. And when the floor bounces, eventually it starts to fatigue and it gets micro cracks in it, and you get rust. So I had taken a buck out back in the fall, and realized that he had sore hocks, which doesn't happen to us a whole lot. And that's when I realized, holy cow, as I got in there and really started looking at the floor, I realized we were getting rust. So we've pulled everything out. I've replaced about half the floors in the American barn, or Harlequin barn. I will replace most of the floors in the American barn, simply because the big rabbits fatigue the wire. And if I've got them out, I might as well just replace them. And we've gone with heavier wire, galvanized afterweld wire, which is better wire. So we're getting there. I don't know. It's just been, I feel very spread. That's kind of the big rabbitry news.
I just told Nikki earlier that I was just tired after 6 years of building here, and we built for 10 years down in Mississippi, and we finally got the house finished and the landscaping done, and it looked fantastic. And then like 2 days later, Nikki moved to Oregon, and I lived there by myself for a year. Almost a year by myself, just maintaining it until it was sold. But we immediately moved here to a house that had nothing, and we started the cycle right over. And it's been, of course, you and your family built while I was in Mississippi. You built a few things, but I think the major stuff, they had a couple of rabbit houses done before we got here, but we didn't start on the barns by that point. The shop, turkey house, or the other ones. So in 6 years, we've built a lot of stuff, and I don't know, you can start to feel it wind down. That you just look around and go, oh, I just got a little paint to do here, or I've got to finish up the trim on that, or I've got to finish up the insulation in here. Most of the big stuff is really done. It's just the what it seems like it's the fine details that take forever to get done because they don't have to be. We're sitting in an unfinished sunroom that doesn't have a roof in it. It doesn't have a ceiling in it. It's insulated. We got that taken care of. It's all dried in, but it doesn't have the trim on and doesn't have some of the wall coverings in the ceiling, and it's just a lot of those small projects. My goal this year is to finish up painting. It's only been 3 or 4 years since I started, and I'm finally going to have a complete, hopefully have a house that matches the shop and all the trim done, and then we have barns to stain and a new storage building to get colored, stained correctly, and it's just a lot of small stuff that you can finally just feel like, oh, finally we can just get that done.
Well, we've talked in these live streams before about how we could really use some help. So I'm working on an idea to bring in some help.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
And we'll talk about that next week because we're going to talk to this potential person this week. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't want to say too much because she watches some of these live streams. So, I do want to take a minute to shout out to our nephew, Clayton, from Mississippi. Sophia was on, but apparently she's doing a Chinese lesson now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
They are kids of some of our dearest friends from Mississippi that, boy, we haven't seen them in a long time.
Yeah.
But really great people that were basically our Mississippi family. So
yeah,
I'm excited that the kids have come on. That makes me feel pretty good. So anyway, so that's kind of the gist of what's been going on, right?
I think so. I mean, that's Homestead related stuff.
You're working again, and
I started a new assignment that I think we talked about it last week. That I wasn't gonna go back, and then after I said, oh, I'm gonna be off 7 weeks, and then 7 days later they're like, we really need you to come back to work. So they found me an assignment that I could work part-time. And the great thing is everybody's on a later time zone. So for me, it's 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. The person that I'm kind of taking some of his responsibilities, he's on Central. So it's an 8 to noon for him. So he's wrapping up really the morning for him, I would say. He is done with at that point of his day when I'm logging off. And then at 10 o'clock, I normally don't go outside. And by that time, I've had my coffee and we've typically had breakfast, and then we can.
I know Kaden talked a little bit about the fact that we have rabbit class this weekend, and we do have six people and a friend who's coming to help. So we're excited about that. This may be the last rabbit class, which kind of sucks because we only did one in the fall, and we're getting ready to do this one. And the reason for that is, I love teaching and I love doing the class because videos are nice and we can do little topics, but we cover so much information in the class, and it's a good time to ask questions, and you can ask about your scenario and your breed, and it's a lot of fun. But the problem that we're running into, I know we kind of live in the middle of nowhere, and I get that a lot of people don't want to travel for it. The problem that I'm running into is we get a ton of local people that are like, oh, I want to come, and then they can't make it on. They suddenly in the last couple weeks can't make it on a class weekend, and but they always follow that up with, oh, well, we'll just come out and help on the farm, and you can teach us then. And honestly, I do not have a lot of time to. I mean, when when we're not doing videos or we're not doing live streams or we're not doing classes, it is go, go, go around here.
Mm-hmm.
So, like today, I I was answering messages, and then I've been out doing cages and dealing with the incubator. And, homesteading really, especially on the scale that we do it, is like full time firefighting. Really. I mean, Kanan last week is out cleaning stalls, and then there's a baby born, and he's running back and forth. And it's it's not really a good time for people to come and just hang out.
Yeah, and it's going to be more difficult. Last year with the pandemic and a lot of things were shut down, uh, I didn't. I guess I didn't invest in my personal business, my car stuff, very much. This year, I really have upped the ante. A week ago, I ordered a 3D printer, and that's something I've never done before. I've never been much of a computer designer, but as I started doing these, especially these Porsches, I'm realizing, one, I don't have the knowledge that I thought I did, because Porsches, or European cars, are different from American and Japanese. Learned that one the hard way doing stuff.
Yeah.
But I continually have the I don't know what to call it. I love junky 80s cars. That's the best way I can say it. My favorite thing to do is to buy the thing that you drag out of a field. You drag it home because it's on its last ditch effort, and it's on its deathbed. And I find that I love dragging them home for a while, and I hate it later. I hate it later on, but they're all plastic, and they're all terrible plastic. The plastic from the 80s is terrible quality compared to today. So going through and starting to take these Porsches apart, after coming off of doing a couple Mustangs and different things, I thought, I want to do so much more with these, but I can't really get there. So I bought a 3D printer, and I'll have to learn how to design and be able to come, do all these pieces.
Right. Leslie made the comment of non-refundable deposit. I hate doing that kind of stuff because I feel like I don't want to be in the position to judge somebody else's life.
Yes.
And there are people, legitimately, there's some very nice people, one lady in particular that last minute said she was going to come, 2 days later wasn't feeling good. I mean, It happens. It's fine. And she's totally cool to come back another time, and we'll figure that out. The problem that I have is the people that drag their feet and they don't want to pay going forward, and that's fine. If you can't afford to come to a class, that's fine. I totally understand. But I get the impression that some people are just cheaping out, so they think, oh well, I won't come to a class, but then they come to help, or they want to come learn one thing, or the reason we don't let a lot of people come to the farm other than biosecurity to pick up rabbits anymore is because people would come to pick up a rabbit and not leave for 6 hours, because it's, oh, you have turkeys. So we get drug over to talk about turkeys, and oh, you have goats. And we get drug over to talk about goats. And y'all, I am down to talk homesteading just about any time. But there is a certain amount of work that has to get done around here, and I am totally cool to share my knowledge, I guess, on my terms. It is probably the best way to put that.
Yeah.
And that's not to be ugly. It's just to, I don't have all the time in the world, right? None of us do. We can choose how we spend our time. And so getting a little frustrated with it, because this is now the second time that we've had class. And both times we've had this whole list of people. Oh, we're coming. Oh, suddenly I got a thing. But I'll come out another time and you can show me how to do this stuff. And I make classes available so that we can learn and do, and I can answer all those questions at one time, and trying to fit a million people into my schedule to learn on what they want to learn is kind of a pain. I mean, and I try not to be mean to anybody. So I probably should just take the attitude and just say no. But I'm not real good at that. So I do the, oh, yeah, maybe we'll do that. If I ever say that, basically what I mean is it's not happening, but I'm being too nice to tell you it's not happening. So, yeah, Elijah, we could talk rabbits and chickens all day, but that doesn't mean we have the time. Things got to get done. And that's exactly the thing. We seem to have a whole rash of people here locally, especially that seem to think that because we take time to YouTube, that means we've got all this time to do stuff. Well, you should know that things like the Tuesday videos, the single questions, on a really blustery morning, I spent like 2 or 3 hours filming months of content because I have to do things when I have time for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that, people seem to like have this idea of, oh, well, I'll just come out on a weekend and you can show me how to butcher rabbits. And one, I may not be ready to butcher rabbits. Two, I may not have time to butcher rabbits. Three, I could have goats in labor right this moment and not be able to do that. So, yeah, Big Swampy said most of the 9-to-5ers don't understand chores. That's kind of how it is. And then, Leslie says triple charge if you decided to do one-on-one. And I've thought about that. And I guess I guess the thing I'm trying not to say is, well, if you're going to take up my time, you're going to pay for it, because time is time, right? It's not so much about you're going to pay me for my time. But I'm thinking that I'm going to kind of put that out and say, if you want a special one-on-one kind of thing, if you want to come out and learn how to do this, it's going to be X amount. Because if I'm doing that, I'm not doing this. And what I'm hoping that will do is maybe push people into just come at a time that we have a class.
Yeah.
Like it's a pretty good deal. I mean, it is $70 for a full Saturday and a half Sunday. But we send you home with handouts. You get the farm tour. We do lunch. And you get all the time to ask me whatever you want to ask. And believe me, there's a lot of questions that get thrown around. So I like doing it. I had a good time doing it in October when we did it. And the folks that are coming for this one are really fun people. So I'm excited. One of our class people from last time is coming back. We're going to talk about some other stuff that he wanted to learn. So I'm really kind of excited about that. And then my cousin is coming back. She's bringing her daughter this time. Some lovely people that have moved to the area are coming. It's going to be a good time. And, I set time aside for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the interesting part is and this is like last time, it was when we did it last September, it was kind of cold and blustery. So there wasn't much on the farm. The farm kind of took care of itself, but you have to think about it when Nikki is teaching, and granted she's going to be, last time I had the ability to go do other things. This time she is teaching in my garage. So which means there is nothing on this farm that can happen, because one, I'll be free, yes, but now we have extra dogs that we have to monitor and manage. Yeah. I cannot go into my garage and play and go have a garage day, work on my stuff, because she's going to be using it. Everybody loves free, and until it's their version of free being given away. They lost. It's for some reason it's still working on our end, unless the connection on our end has died, but it still shows it's working. I don't know. I guess we had talked about it earlier. We didn't want this to be a rant video about things, and we don't want it to make it seem like you guys are going to pay for our time, because that's not what we're trying to come off.
Okay. Well, I just said you're back. Yeah, so, and y'all, it is daily. And I know I'm slow sometimes getting back to everybody. You'd have to understand that I am bombarded every day. Like I get at least one to 4 emails every day asking about rabbit stuff, or at least 5 or 6 sales inquiries every week, plus the YouTube comments. And I love to help. And I know good information on rabbits can be really, really tough to find.
Yeah.
So I do my best to try to answer stuff. But it really aggravates me when we have these classes and the local people. And I say local, if you're within 3 hours, I don't think it's unreasonable to travel 3 hours for a class. I've gone further for stuff.
Yeah, I have too.
So I think these people always come up with these excuses on why they can't come to a class, and then they turn right around and have no problem blowing up my inbox. And one of them even got a little sideways with me here a couple weeks back and said, I needed an answer to this like 2 days ago. Well, you know what? If you had come to the October class, you would know this stuff already. And I made this big point of saying, oh, well, I do the best I can. Why don't you come after class? Oh, I have other things to do, but I'll come to the next one. So I'm feeling a little frustrated with the class thing. I thought it was going to be really helpful. We really wanted to do them. I know everybody's been asking me to do an online class, and I have a hard time with it because it just doesn't feel as personable to me, and finding time to do it is kind of hard. So I don't know. I still don't. We thought we were going to do the online thing, and then I looked at it, and I just wasn't sure that I wanted to try it. So maybe that is what we need to do. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. It's hard for me to be convinced to do an online class or just a members only class when we've literally had people complain that the members only stuff is $2 a month. So it's, I guess I get it. If you come to YouTube and you want free information, there's a lot of free information. You just have to decide that's the information you want, I guess.
Yeah, but the thing about it is we're just as, I don't know.
This is the kind of stuff we had on Monday.
Bryson's been really terrible lately.
Yeah. 2-day seminar, he doubled it. I don't want to go up in price. We already went up from 50 to a day and a half stuff. It's kind of it's a bummer.
Yeah.
So and that's kind of where I'm at with it. If nobody is going to come, then I'm probably not going to take the time to interrupt our schedule for 1 or 2 people. And I value everybody who's coming out. But it's tough. The whole point of it was to make certain days to teach many people, so I don't get as many people trying to come out on the farm all the time. And sure, what I'm going to do on the class front, we'll kind of see as we go.
Yep.
Maybe we'll keep doing it. Maybe we won't for September for the second class of the year. It's.
I think the way there's so many other variables at play by September that something I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's the other thing I don't understand is they're talking about meat prices going up through the roof, and if you're ever going to do rabbits, by golly, this is the time.
Yeah, don't wait